Hello everyone, let's talk about photosynthesis, the process plants use to make their own food using light energy. Photosynthesis happens to have two stages. We have the light dependent and the light independent reaction. The light independent reaction is also known as the Calvin cycle. But in this video, we'll only focus on the light dependent reaction. So where does photosynthesis take place? So photosynthesis takes place inside the chloroplast. These are tiny green structures in plant cells that contain the green pigment called chlorophyll, the molecule that absorbs light energy. If we are going to look at our chloroplast, here's what we are going to see. So we have here the thylakoids. So thylakoids are flat disc-like membranes where light-dependent reaction actually happens. Basically, we're going to see the chlorophyll inside the thylakoids. Now, a stack of thylakoid, as you can see here in the picture, is called granum, and multiple stacks of granum such as this one, and this one are called grana or grana. We also have the stroma, which is the fluid that surrounds the thylakoids, or the fluid inside the chloroplast. And we also have the lumen. So the lumen is the space inside of the thylakoids. We also have the inner and the outer membrane, and also the intermembrane space. So basically, the intermembrane space is the space between inner membrane and the outer membrane of the chloroplast. Now if we're going to take a closer look to our chloroplast, we are going to see the electron transport chain, and it kind of looks like this. So we have here the photosystems, photosystem 2, photosystem 1. Also we have the electron carriers. We have the plastoquinone, the plasticyanin, the ferradoxin, and we also have different enzymes. We have the NADP reductase and the ATP reductase. And as a whole, they are known as the electron transport chain. It all starts in the PS2 or the photosystem 2. When light hits chlorophyll, say we have light energy and it hits the chlorophyll, it excites the electrons to a higher energy level. These high energy electrons are passed through the electron carrier called the plastoquinone. So say we have here an electron. It will move from the chlorophyll to the plastoquinone. But now, the chlorophyll in PS2 has lost its electrons. To replace them, water molecules are split in a process called photolysis. Say for example, we have here a water molecule. What's going to happen is that it will be split into oxygen, hydrogen ions, and electrons. Now that the water molecules are split into oxygen, hydrogen ions, and electrons, what's going to happen is that the electron from photolysis will be absorbed by the chlorophyll, and the hydrogen ions will move here in the thylakoid lumen. So here is the thylakoid lumen, and the oxygen will now be released. Now the electron from the plastoquinone will move to the cytochrome B6F complex. So from here, the electron will move here. And as they move, they will pump hydrogen ions from the stroma. Take note, this space here is the stroma. So as they move, they will pump hydrogen ions from the stroma into the thylakoid lumen. So the hydrogen ions here will move here in the thylakoid lumen. Now, as hydrogen ions gets pumped from the stroma into the thylakoid lumen, it creates a concentration gradient of hydrogen ions. The journey of the electron continues. From the cytochrome, it will be delivered to the plasticyanin and into the photosystem 1. By the time the electron reaches the photosystem 1, it already lost some of its energy. It will gain its energy back though, since the P700 or the photosystem 1 will also absorb light energy, exciting the electron in the process. Once the electron is energized, it will move to the Faraday cell, then to the NADP reductase. NADP reductase is an enzyme that reduces NADP plus into NADPH. So the reduction happens when NADP reductase releases the electron. So this enzyme will release the electron into the stroma. So once the electron is accepted by NADP plus together with a hydrogen ion, we are going to have NADPH. Now when the NADP plus accepted the electron together with a hydrogen ion from the stroma, it will further increase the concentration gradient of hydrogen ions between the stroma and the thylakoid lumen. Meanwhile, remember all the protons that were pumped into the lumen? This hydrogen ions here. Since their concentration is now very high inside the lumen, they naturally want to flow back into the stroma. So they do this through an enzyme called ATP synthase. So basically, these hydrogen ions that were pumped from the stroma into this thylakoid lumen will flow through here in the ATP synthase to go back into the stroma to maintain balance. Now what happens is that as hydrogen ions flow into the ATP synthase, the ATP synthase rotates. Okay, so it rotates, and as it rotates, it synthesizes ATP. So what happens is that the ATP, burahin ko lang itong mga nasa taas. So what happens is that as the ATP synthase rotates, it synthesizes ATP from ADP and phosphate. So we have here ADP and phosphate. So as it rotates, it will synthesize, or it will combine ADP and phosphate into ATP. So that's how ATP is produced in the light-dependent reaction. Now to sum up the light-dependent reaction, basically what happened is that light was absorbed in the photosystems. Once the light was absorbed, it energized the electrons. The electron then traveled to the electron transport chain, producing NADPH, ATP, and the release of oxygen. So NADPH and ATP are very essential in this process because this is what we are going to need in the Calvin cycle. So that's it. That's how light-dependent reaction works.